morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice Radio, so today we're going to be looking at a new Steelix card. And this Steelix card has an awful lot of potential. This Steelix card could be really, really good. We'll get there in a minute. It's got 170 HP, which is gigantic for a Stage 1, though is in line with the other Steelix that we saw, well, which is actually going to be in Unified Minds, which is kind of cool. And we've got a weakness to fire, and the weakness to fire sucks. Because Welder is making all of these fire decks like Reshiram and Charizard, like Blacephalon, etc. just way, way better. Having a weakness to them is, well, it's not ideal at the moment, ladies and gentlemen. Let's put it that way. We got a resistance to Psychic, which is lovely, because I expect Mewtwo and Mew to be pretty gosh darn good as we go forward through the rotation. And you're a Metal Pokemon, which means, actually, you've always got Metal Frying Pan to remove your weakness. Or you've got Metal Goggles to also reduce damage done by 30, because that's what Metal Frying Pan does. But it also stops your opponent dropping damage counters on you. You've got Metal Core Barrier to reduce damage done to you by 70 damage, etc, etc. There's some good tricks for Metal Pokemon, plus you've always got Mount Coronet, which is just lovely for recovering your metal energy. So we've got some decent tricks. It's a little bit sad we're losing Delmise to the rotation because, well, that was fun, ladies and gentlemen, that was fun. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, when it comes to Steelix, there is one thing that makes me exceedingly happy here, and it is the first attack, which I honestly think could be the center of a phenomenal deck. 2 colorless energy, discard any number of cards from your hand that have a retreat cost of 4. This attack does 50 damage for each Pokemon discarded in this way. So you fill your hand with Pokemon with a retreat cost of 4, discard them all, boom. You are rocking, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely rocking. Now, this really depends on what you're going against. Because if you're against something like a Pikachu and Zekrom, well, actually, I'm going to be honest, this is going to be annoying because lightning Pokemon tend to have a resistance to metal, and it's actually going to come super in handy for them. So if we look at Pikachu and Zekrom here, what we've got is a 240 HP Pokemon with a resistance to metal, so you discard 5 Pokemon, you're actually doing 230, you'll be 10 damage short. And it's not going to stop you using Shrine of Punishment to do that extra 10 damage and getting the KO, but the point here is that you've got to use something like Shrine of Punishment to do the extra 10 damage and get the KO. It's not as easy, it's not as straightforward as we might ideally like. It's not the end of the world, and if you're using a non-GX deck like Steelix, there's probably a pretty good chance you are using Shrine of Punishment. It's somewhat of a staple in the vast majority of non-GX decks, but still kind of annoying. If you're against something like Reshiram and Charizard, 6 Pokemon. Now, 6 Pokemon seems like a lot, but it's really not the end of the world here, because you're taking free prizes. Discarding 6 Pokemon from your hand to take free prizes, that really doesn't sound bad to me at all here. That sounds perfectly reasonable. Bearing in mind, you've got 170 HP, so it's not like every deck's just going to come around and take you out. I mean, if we look at something like Pikachu and Zekrom, fine. With their GX attack, they are going to be getting a KO. But even with full Blitz, they're going to need an Electro Power just to get a KO here. And sure, they're going to play Electro Power, and sure, there's going to be turns they've got it, but there's also going to be turns they don't. And even on the turns that they do, they're having to use free energy on a Tag Team GX with an Electro Power to take a prize. You're a Stage 1. You're attacking for 2 energy. The investment you're putting into Steelix isn't much. Now, there's a big extra investment you've got to put in terms of getting the 4 retreat Pokemon in your hand, but you're not losing that when you're KO'd by a Pikachu and Zekrom. What you're losing is a Stage 1, 2 energy. Nobody really cares, and that's why I think Steelix has a real, genuine chance. Because the investment is quite minimal and you only give up 1 prize, which means that you can afford to lose a few of them without losing your mind, so to speak. And look, in terms of the energy here, the energy ain't a problem. You're an evolved Pokemon, so you can use triple acceleration energy. We're losing double colorless to the rotation, that's sad, etc. But we've got triple acceleration energy, that will do just fine for now. But it's 2 colorless energy, so you can use Tapu Koko Prism Star, play a bit of lightning energy, and oh look, now you put your Tapu Koko Prism Star in the Lost Zone from the bench, put 1 energy onto each of 2 bent Steelix, you're good to go. You're absolutely good to go, and now they're single energy Pokemon, essentially. Or you can play Fire Energy and Welder, or you can put it in a Malamar deck. To be fair, you could play it with that Magnezone that accelerates as much Metal Energy during your turn as you like, or even the one that accelerates Lightning. But I think playing it with a Stage 2 is getting a little bit awkward. But the point is, with it being colorless energy, you've got a bunch of options, and you're starting off with 4 triple acceleration energy in your deck. And bearing in mind, you should be taking a KO every time you use this attack. This is a KO getting attack. This is a kind of Pokemon where you might go down a prize or 2 because you're not taking a KO, but then you'll rock off several in a row because you're discarding 4 Pokemon and taking out a Blacephalon. And to go back to the damage briefly, against Tag Team GXs, you're generally swapping 6, or if you're really lucky, 5, especially with Shrine of Punishment, sometimes 5, for free prizes. Against a GX, you're generally swapping 4 for 2 prizes. But against a non-GX, you might be swapping 3 for 1 prize. That's when it gets kind of awkward. Something like a Buzzwole, or even a Zapdos. You're discarding 3 Pokemon, and you're only taking 1 prize. And discarding the Pokemon isn't really the issue, but it's having to get them in your hand which is the issue. That's what you're going to struggle with here. Except we've got a bunch of ways to do it. Now, there's 2 ways that I think are better than most. Firstly, we've got Lure Ball. Flip 3 coins for each head, put an evolved Pokemon from your discard pile into your hand. Cool. Well, that's going to help. Because I didn't mention this earlier, I wanted to save it till a bit later. Now is later. Steelix has a retreat cost of 4, which means you can use buff padding to get an extra 50 HP, which at that point means that a Pikachu and Zekrom would actually have to use free Electro Power to get a KO. And bearing in mind we're losing Field Blower, so getting rid of buff padding isn't going to be easy. Having said that, you've also got Metal Frying Pan you might want to play, or Metal Core Barrier. Basically, Steelix is going to be a really difficult to KO Pokemon. Like, really difficult, because you've got all of the metal tricks. It'd be lovely if it was a fighting Pokemon and you could use Diancie Prism Star and be hitting a good weakness while having a better weakness, but you've got some good tricks to stay on the field with Metal Energy. But we've got Pokemaniac. Pokemaniac lets you search your deck for 3 Pokemon with a retreat cost of 4 and put them into your hand. And this is really good for getting set up, and it's really good for getting the Pokemon into your hand. And yesterday I showed you Magneton. Now I'm afraid I owe you a little bit of an apology about Magneton. I was using a translation that let you search for any free cards when you KO'd it. It's actually any free supporter cards. My apologies. There is no site with 100% record in terms of getting all their translations right. And doing these in advance, there will be rare mistakes, but I've corrected as much as I can. I do apologise. But Magneton's great here. You KO Magneton, alright, you have to give up a prize, that's a little bit sad, except maybe you then use Counter Gain, and if you use Counter Gain, then all of a sudden your attacks are for a single energy, and maybe you don't actually care anymore. And then you search for Lieutenant Surge's strategy, 2 Pokemaniac, search your deck for 6 Pokemon with a retreat cost of 4 or more, and oh look. Now you're getting a KO on literally anything. I think the combination of Magneton and Counter Gain here could absolutely work with this, turning you into a single energy attacker and guaranteeing you get all 6 of those Pokemon is great. And don't forget, we've got the Onix from Lost Thunder here, which has a retreat cost of 4. Most of the Onix do. The one from Celestial Storm doesn't, so do watch that. and it does 120 for 4 energy. It depends what you're really playing here, but if you're playing stuff like Welder or Malamar, maybe you can get the 4 energy on there, gets a 1-hit KO on a Pikachu and Zekrom. Or it gets a 1-hit KO on Silvally, which is looking like it's going to be phenomenal post-rotation. And then there's nothing to stop you just playing a bunch of Pokemon for a retreat cost of 4 just to sit there and block. You know, play something like a Wailord. I love me some Wailord. Because you see, there is a Wailord that's got 220 HP and a retreat cost of 4. So maybe just play a couple of those Wailord just because you can. There was a side note, we don't have a 4 retreat Wailmer at the moment, so that might be a reason that stops you. But that's just an example. We've just lost Regigigas, unfortunately, but here's a kind of Pokemon, 180 HP, retreat cost of 4. Really nice option here, just to put in your deck to buy yourself some time while you set up. And honestly, I think this is probably a deck in and of itself. I think this is exactly the kind of Pokemon that you can really take advantage of here. It's a stage 1 for 2 energy that can KO anything. And alright, you have to get Pokemon with a retreat cost of 4 into your hand, but as I've shown you, we've got ways of doing that. It's really not the most difficult thing ever, and I've not even shown you every single option. We're just running a little bit short of time. Now, there is a second attack here, but it's nothing really to worry about. Metal, triple colorless, flip until you get tails, 100 for each heads. It's got a 50-50 chance of doing nothing. We're not going to have Victini to reflip, and honestly, even if we did, I wouldn't recommend it. I don't like this second attack at all. I think the second attack is bad, but I don't care, because I think the first attack is great. Genuinely great. And I think people are going to play this deck, and I think this deck is going to be good. I'm giving this Pokemon 4 Wassies, and there's a chance that this ends up being a disappointing score, and I'm being a little bit harsh. It really has so much potential. Stage 1 Pokemon, 2 energy, almost limitless damage. I love it. But I'd like to know what you think, ladies and gentlemen, so please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays, where we talk about games that don't have Pokemon in but are still extremely fun. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.